The Heirloom Secret. Chapter 1. The Inheritance. The letter arrived on a Tuesday. Clara Bennet stared at the thick, cream-colored envelope, her name scrawled in elegant, looping script, her grandmother's handwriting. She hadn't spoken to Eleanor Bennet in over a decade, not since the bitter argument that had torn their family apart. And now, Eleanor was gone. Clara's fingers trembled as she broke the wax seal. Inside was a single sheet of paper and a key. My dearest Clara, if you're reading this, I've left you Rosewood Manor. There are things you need to know, secrets buried in the walls. Forgive an old woman's silence. Love, Grandmother. Clara exhaled sharply. Rosewood Manor, the sprawling estate in the Vermont countryside, had been in the Bennet family for generations. But why her? Why now? Chapter 2. Return to Rosewood. The manor loomed ahead, its ivy-covered stone walls as imposing as Clara remembered. The last time she'd been here, she was 17, furious at the world, and desperate to escape the weight of the Bennet name. The lawyer handling the estate was waiting for her on the porch. Miss Bennet, he said, extending a hand. Daniel Hartman. Clara froze. Hartman. The name was a punch to the gut. The Hartmans had been the Bennets' bitter rivals for decades. Land disputes, business sabotage, a feud that stretched back to the 1920s. You're their lawyer? She asked, unable to keep the edge from her voice. Daniel's mouth quirked. Just the estate attorney. But yes, my family has history with yours. His gaze held hers a beat too long, and Clara felt an unwelcome spark of curiosity. Chapter 3. The Diary. The house smelled of aged wood and forgotten memories. Clara wandered the halls, her fingers trailing over dusty furniture, until she found the locked drawer in her grandmother's desk. The key fit perfectly. Inside was a leather-bound diary, its pages yellowed with age. June 12, 1952. I met him by the river today. Thomas Hartman. I know I shouldn't, but when he looks at me, I forget the feud. I forget everything. Clara's breath caught. Thomas Hartman. Daniel's grandfather? She flipped further. August 3, 1952. We kissed. If Father finds out, he'll disown me. But I don't care. The entries grew more desperate, more reckless, until they stopped abruptly in September 1952. Clara's pulse raced. What had happened? Chapter 4. The Rival's Smile. Daniel found her in the library hours later, the diary still in her hands. You look like you've seen a ghost, he said, leaning against the doorframe. Clara hesitated, then handed him the diary. Did you know about this? Daniel's expression darkened as he read. No. But it explains a lot. Like what? My grandfather left Vermont suddenly in 52. Never spoke of the Bennets again. He met her eyes. Your grandmother must have ended it. Clara shook her head. She wouldn't have. Not unless she was forced to. A silence stretched between them, charged with something dangerous. Chapter 5. The Attraction. Days passed in a blur of research and whispered discoveries. Clara and Daniel pored over old letters, land deeds, anything that could explain what had torn Eleanor and Thomas apart. Late one night, they found a hidden compartment in the library wall. Inside was a faded photograph, Eleanor and Thomas, their foreheads pressed together, their faces alight with joy. Clara's throat tightened. They loved each other. Daniel's hand brushed hers as he took the photo. And someone made sure they couldn't be together. Their fingers lingered, and suddenly, Clara was achingly aware of how close he was. His scent, cedar and something warm, filled her senses. "This is insane," she whispered. Daniel's gaze dropped to her lips. "What is?" "Us. This. History repeating itself." He cupped her face. "Then let's not repeat their mistakes." And then he kissed her. Chapter 6. The Truth Unravels. The deeper they dug, the uglier the truth became. Clara's great-grandfather had orchestrated the separation, threatening to cut Eleanor off, spreading lies to the Hartmans. But the final blow came when they uncovered a letter from Thomas, begging Eleanor to run away with him. She'd never received it. Clara stared at the unopened envelope, her vision blurring. All these years she thought he abandoned her. Daniel's jaw tightened. And my grandfather died believing she chose the feud over him. Chapter 7. Breaking the Cycle. The weight of the past pressed down on them, but Clara refused to let it define their future. At the town's Founders' Day festival, the same event where Eleanor and Thomas had been caught together, Clara took Daniel's hand in front of everyone. Gasps rippled through the crowd. A Bennett and a Hartman? Daniel squeezed her fingers. "Ready for the scandal?" Clara grinned. "Let's give them something to talk about." And as they walked through the crowd, whispers trailing behind them, Clara realized some legacies weren't meant to be burdens. They were meant to be broken. Epilogue: The Heirloom. A year later, Clara stood on the porch of Rosewood Manor, now restored to its former glory. Daniel wrapped his arms around her from behind, pressing a kiss to her temple. "Happy?" he murmured. Clara smiled, watching the sunset paint the sky in gold and violet, the same colors as the locket she wore, the one she'd found in Eleanor's things. Inside was a tiny photograph of Thomas. More than I ever thought possible. And for the first time in generations, the Bennett and Hartman names were spoken together, not in anger, but in love.